Hey everybody, I am coming making this video message and I want to talk to you all about people that you come across and they can see everything wrong with you, but they can never see anything wrong with themselves. The reason why I'm making this video message is because sometimes when someone is not accustomed to people calling them out, holding them responsible, or holding them accountable for their ways, their attitude, and how they handle conflict and different people, when somebody finally stands up to that person or those people and hold them accountable or call them out on the way they do things, the way they say things, the way they handle certain situations with people, and just their overall way of thinking, then typically the person who is holding them accountable, they will mistake that person holding them to be accountable. They will make accusations against that person. They may say the person is mean. They may deem you as disrespectful. They may say that you are disturbing their peace. Then they may gaslight you and be very manipulative and say, well, that's not what I meant. A lot of times when you call people out and you try to make them take the accountability for what they did or what they said, they will try to turn the situation around and make it appear like when they first initially said or did something, that's not what they meant, that's not what they said. They will try to change it. They will try to go in the reverse. They will try to turn the entire situation around to where you come out and you look like the bad guy. On today, and the reason why I am making this video message is to let you know, when you come across these types of people, and don't make a mistake and think that these are young people. These people, from what I found, are middle-aged and older people. Yes, there are young people that do it, but you give them a little bit more mercy and leg room because they're still growing. A lot of younger people, they are still growing. They are still learning. They are still trying to find out who they are. They may not know God the way that you know God. So you give them an extension of more grace and more mercy to make the mistakes that they're making when it comes to attitude, when it comes to loyalty, when it comes to accountability and responsibility. Now, it's a special treat when you do come across young people that already are there. So when you already see some young people who do very well know how to take responsibility and accountability, you can almost be certain that they had solid parents that taught them these attributes. They taught them how to take responsibility for what you do, take accountability for certain mistakes or decisions you've made, change your way of thinking. That's a nasty way of thinking. That's a haughty way of thinking. You're being arrogant, you're being prideful, you're being self-righteous. It's a treat when you see young people that are already there. However, there are some elders, there are some older people that you will come across, and they are great at pointing out everything wrong with everybody else, but they never look at themselves. These are very difficult people to come across and to be around, because anytime, it doesn't matter how sweet, how respectful, and how nice you say something to them or what you bring to them about themselves, they are never going to be able to look at themselves. But they can single-handedly point out the flaws, the mistakes, the failures, and the imperfections of other people. It is like walking up an uphill battle. It is like beating a dead horse to try to break through to people who are like this. So my advice today to any one of you where you are facing somebody who just has a very hard time with taking the responsibility and the accountability for their attitude, for their negative spirit, for their negative mindset, for them being double-minded. One minute they say one thing, the next minute they say something else. They're changing in seconds how they feel or what they think, and they typically do this after you confront them about something that they do or something that they say. You have got to fight because a lot of times these are demons that is within that person. Anytime you come across somebody that is usually double-minded, they act one way when they're around certain people, but then when they're around other people they act another way, or they'll be who they are, but when you call them out and confront them and say, I noticed this about you, I notice you project a lot, you say a lot of things about me, and it makes me uncomfortable, and you're making me out to be something that I'm not, so I need to know, why do you keep doing that? When you come to them, then they'll try to go backwards and say, well, that's not what I meant. They'll be completely different, and then they will accuse you of being disrespectful. Believe it or not, guys, a lot of people will deem you as disrespectful when you confront them. You'll think that somebody would say you're disrespectful when you're screaming at them, hollering at them, threatening them in their face, and calling them out of their name. But you simply confronting people about their attitude, about their way of thinking, and how they handle you, and how they handle conflict, and even how they handle other people, they will label you as disrespectful. And it's a lot of that because they want to deflect. And this is demonic. A lot of times it is a spirit. You are going back and forth and arguing with a demon, because they will never calm down and be humble enough to say, you know what, this is how I operate, and thank you for pointing it out. It is something that I need to work on. So when you see these types of people, especially depending on who it is, if it is a family member or somebody that you really love and you hold them near and dear to your heart, you have to fight this in a spiritual sense. You trying to be in front of somebody's face and you all are going back and forth and arguing because you know what you know, but they keep denying it. They keep making accusations against you to deflect. Some way in the midst of you confronting and holding these types of people accountable, the situation turns and it becomes about you. It turns into everything being about you. You are the bad guy. You are the one that's disrespectful. You are the one that is looking at them wrong. Okay, so this is something that you have to fight in the spirit, because one thing that is also very sad is when I run into people who say that they know God and they say that they love God, and they will even make announcements about how they know God has a plan for their life, or God is going to do something with them. But then when you bring to them the very thing that they say about how they know God and how they know God has a plan for their life, then they seem to be confused. They seem to just throw all of that out the window, and what they were initially saying, they switch up, they change it. And so this is something that you have to fight in the spirit. When people cannot go inside of themselves, because I need you all to understand something, people know who they are. And before a prophet comes to tell you anything, before a mighty man or woman of God comes to tell you anything, before a friend comes to tell you anything about yourself, or a significant other, you know exactly who you are. When all of us are by ourselves, when we are alone with nobody around, with our thoughts, with our feelings, with our emotions, and even when we act a certain way in a particular setting, we know exactly who we are. So when we're, or if we're confronted about who we are and our attitude and how we handle things, it should not come as a surprise. But some people are so sensitive, because when people have isolated themselves and they are not around people, sometimes you can become self-righteous. I want you all to be aware of that. If you in isolation and you've been by yourself, some people have been by themselves. They have not been around friends. They have not really been around family. If you are that person who is in isolation, and you have grown very self-righteous, and you feel and believe you are a picture of perfection, and you are not aware of your faults, you are not aware of your flaws, and nobody can say anything to you without you breaking down crying, without you flying into rages, without you becoming angry, without you pointing the finger and flipping the script on them, making it like they're the bad guy, when you know at that moment in that situation you're actually the bad guy, and you actually did or said something wrong, and somebody was bold enough and courageous enough to bring it to you and confront you about it. You, ma'am or sir, you've got to now change the situation around. Sometimes this is what the enemy wants. The enemy wants you to be in isolation to where you really do become self-righteous, when in actuality, when you're in isolation, a lot of who you are is coming to the surface, so God can free you, and God can deliver you, and God can clean you up, and God can change you, and God can make you aware of things that are within you. This is what a lot of people miss. Sometimes they feel like, okay, I'm in isolation, I'm by myself, I'm not partying, I'm not clubbing, I'm backing away from social media, but I'm starting to feel like trash because a lot of things from my past are coming up, a lot of my ways are coming to me, and it's coming out of nowhere, and I don't understand why. Now, sometimes it is the enemy. Sometimes the enemy is real crafty at how he brings your past to you, and he will keep bringing your past to you because he knows you are on a verge of a breakthrough. He knows that God is about to do something fresh and new in your life, so he wants to keep you bonded to your past. He wants to keep you bonded to all of those old decisions you made and all of those past failures and mistakes that you made. However, a lot of times when you are in isolation, God is really bringing a lot of things to the surface because God wants to make you aware before anybody else does. He wants to make you aware of what you are addicted to, what you are battling. He wants to show you if there's lust in your heart. He wants to show you if there's rage and anger in your heart. He will show you if you are being self-righteous. He will show you if you are lacking patience. God will bring these things to you, and God will be very graceful, very merciful to you, and God will be very, very slow to anger with you because he wants you to get yourself together. So, overall, all I'm saying here is, don't be that man, don't be that woman who nobody can hold you accountable or responsible for the way you think, things that you do, and things that you say. Anytime you have somebody, especially if you know that they love you for real, because another thing that a lot of people do when they're being held accountable and when they are being held responsible, they will look at the person or the people that is holding them accountable and responsible as not loving them, as not liking them, as looking at them like they are the scum of the earth. Sometimes you can misconstrue that when you are caught up in your emotions, but at some point, all of us, I am included, we have got to be so mature to the point where when somebody comes to tell us about ourselves or somebody comes to tell us about our ways, we don't always take offense and be quick to reject them, thinking that they are attacking us. It is very annoying and it is super irritating when you try to go to loved ones, when you try to go to friends, when you try to go to people that you highly respect and just simply tell them about themselves, and they will say you are attacking them. They will accuse you of attacking them when it's no attack. You're not raising your voice. You are not threatening them. You are not getting in their face. You are not cursing them out. You are not trying to do anything remotely to make them cry or to make them feel uncomfortable. You are just out of your love for them, showing them, you know what? This is something that I noticed about you. You're always saying this about me, and I don't know why. Now, I've let it slide for the past several months. I've let it slide for a few years, but You seem to just randomly say these things to me, and you're doing it on my account. And so I need you to stop doing that. And I also need you to explain why you keep doing it. It's nothing wrong with that. But if that person is stuck on trying to tell you about yourself, trying to deflect and say, oh no, you're accusing me, oh, you're attacking me, oh, you have an anger problem, oh, there's something going on with you. A lot of people do this, and it falls under the category of master manipulation. A lot of people, they are master manipulators. They are perfect. They are spectacular and superb at flipping the script on you. They are superb at taking the heat and the weight off of them, of accountability and responsibility, and throwing it back at you. And sometimes if you're not aware enough and you're not sharp enough, you will get caught up in that, to where now you realize, okay, I am arguing and going back and forth with a person, and this situation and conversation was supposed to be about them. Now I'm correcting them because they're actually being disrespectful and abusive to me, and I'm calling them out on it, but now they're bringing up things to me and accusing me of attacking them. They're throwing a rock and hiding their hand now, and they're saying that I'm disrespecting them, I'm disrupting their peace, I'm attacking them. And so then you'll get angry and you'll find yourself caught up in offense because they've played this game with you and they've turned something around on you to make it like, again, you are the bad guy. So guys, on today, because you're always going to come across people that's like this, but it's very disheartening when you see it with older people, because we assume that older people, they have it all together. We will make the assumption that once somebody is in their 50s, once they are in their 60s, once they are in their 70s, that they've been on the earth long enough and they've lived life long enough to where they should know better. They should have gone through all the ups and downs of emotions. They should have gone through the season where they were quick to get offended, but now they're changed, and somebody can say something to them and they don't take it personal. You assume that older people have it together in the sense of they already know what responsibility and accountability is, and maybe they do to a certain extent, but when it comes to you calling them out on how they handle conflict and how they handle people and their ways of thinking, they get upset about it. So I have been thinking about addressing this for a while, but today I said is the day, because you've got to be prepared. You are going to come across this. And body of Christ, a lot of you all are not prepared. You are not prepared for people who are very sensitive. They are very hypersensitive to things being said to them. You all are not prepared to deal with people who are out here heavily promoting witchcraft and manifestation and talking to dead ancestors. You all are not prepared to fight the world with the word of God and tell them about fornication and tell them about same-sex attraction and various other things. You all are not prepared. You're not prepared. And so you need to be prepared for these types of things. And sometimes it's not always about you just tackling those main sins. Sometimes they are more subtle, quiet sins. Calling somebody out on their attitude, calling somebody out on having a very negative mind that you love, they are just overall a nasty, negative person. They never have anything good to say about anybody. They never have anything positive really to say. Every time you bring something to them, you could just be simply trying to vent. They will say something negative behind it. Every time something goes down with you, or they see something go down with other people, they will always say something nasty, something real disrespectful, and something just very rude and uncouth. There is no light in them. There is no positivity in them. And so you have got to be prepared, because you can't always run from this. I know a lot of times we would jump ship and we would say, okay, disconnect from this person, and in due season and due time, you do have to leave people where they are. You do have to disconnect from people. You do have to cut people off. But a lot of times God will have you around people. He will have you around certain family members. He will have you around certain friends. He will have you around certain people in the kingdom of God, where you've got to be a little bit more patient with them. You've got to be a little bit more patient with them. But God will guide you and lead you on how to come at them and how to have conflict, positive, constructive conflict and criticism with them, to where you don't have to fall out with them and you don't have to abandon them, seeing and knowing where they are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That's the video message. Well, guys, it's time for me to go because I have some other things to do. The Lord willing, I will be back with another video message. If any one of you have taken offense to anything I spoke about in this video message, it's okay. It's all right. I'm not worried about it. I am not concerned, because I know you will forgive me in the morning.